Boxing's a pretty intense sport, isn't it? I mean, you got two warriors going at it toe-to-toe in this 20-foot square ring for 36 minutes. Now, I want you to visualize yourself punching a heavy bag, just wailing away on this bag for 60 seconds, hard as you can go. Now, multiply that times 35, and you start to get into the mindset of what these boxers have to go through. And that bag's not trying to punch your lights out either. The older I get, the more I realize that opposition never really completely goes away. I mean, sometimes it's subtle and behind the scenes, and other times it's like intense in your face. Whether you've got a pretty tough test in your 10th grade algebra, or maybe you got some forces pulling against your marriage, maybe it's ongoing health concerns or a job you don't like. What do you do when you're facing opposition? How do you get up and get in the ring when you feel like, you just like to give up and quit? These are great questions. And we're going to find some great answers in the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah is an incredible leader. Just to give you a little background on him, he lived about 450 years before Jesus walked on the earth. And he lived in a place called Babylon, which is modern-day Iraq. But his heart was really about a 2-month journey away in the city of Jerusalem, because he was like a 5-generation refugee. And so God called him to go from Babylon to Jerusalem to help rebuild the city walls, because the walls had been destroyed and the people there, their lives were destroyed because they had no security. Armies could come through there and rob them or destroy them at any time. And so the walls needed to be rebuilt, and that's what Nehemiah did. But he faced some incredible opposition in the meantime. In fact, he faced some of the same kinds of opposition that you and I face today. When you're facing opposition, it's no laughing matter. And Nehemiah was facing 3 specific kinds of opposition. And I want to point it out. It starts in chapter 4, verse 1. It says here that Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, and he became angry, and he was greatly incensed, and he ridiculed the Jews. That's the first kind of opposition that Nehemiah was facing, is ridicule. I don't know if you've ever noticed that when you're in an argument, you're discussing something with somebody, and when your point is better than theirs, then they'll start insulting you or calling you names. And that was what was going on here. He was calling the Jews feeble. He was saying that their walls were going to fall down if a little fox jumped on it. And so he was ridiculing them. The second kind of opposition that Nehemiah was facing is down here in verse 7. It says that Sanballat got all these opposing forces together. Tobiah, the Arabs, the Ammonites, the men of Ashdod. And when they all heard about the repair to Jerusalem's walls had gone ahead and the gaps were being closed, they were very angry. And they all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and stir up trouble against it. Now, in this case, Nehemiah had gathered all the naysayers, all the people who had a stake in seeing this whole project fail. And it was him and the Samaritans were in the north, and the Arabs in the south, the Ammonites in the east, and the men of Ashdod in the west, and they had surrounded Jerusalem. And the last thing they wanted to see was this wall being built. And it says they plotted to come together. The opposition was forming, and resistance was becoming a formal kind of thing. That's the second kind of opposition he's faced. The third that he faced was rumors. In verse 11 and 12, it says, all of our enemies said, before they know it, before they see it, we'll be right there among them and we'll kill them and put an end to this work. And then verse 12 says, and then the Jews who lived near them came and told us 10 times over, wherever you turn, they will attack us. Now, if you ever want to feed the rumor mill, then feed on people's fears. And that's what was going on here. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this or not, but whenever a rumor is told enough times, people start to believe it. And here it said that this rumor was told 10 times over. And so people started believing that this rumor was true, even though there was no way their enemies could attack them in all these different places at any moment, just like the rumor said. So you had rumors, you had resistance, you had ridicule, all the kinds of opposition that Nehemiah faced, that you and I sometimes face today. Let me ask you a question. When you're facing major opposition in your life, how do you feel? I mean, what's going on inside your gut? I mean, do you feel angry because you can't move forward, or maybe depressed or hopeless, maybe just frustrated? What's going on inside? Well, all these things were going on inside of Nehemiah and his rebuilding team. In fact, let me read you verse 10, because it's here that the Bible says that the people in Judah, that is those who are rebuilding the wall, they said this. They said, the strength of the laborers is giving out. This is 26 days into the project, and their strength is giving out. It's the fatigue factor. I think it was Vince Lombardi. It said, fatigue will make cowards out of all of us. And so they're getting tired. They're slowing down. Besides that, the Bible goes on to say that there's so much rubble, we can't rebuild the wall. So all this rubble, we don't even know where to start. Maybe you felt overwhelmed like that in your life before when you're facing opposition. There's so much that I need to do. Where do I start? All the rubble. And then they lost their confidence. They said, we cannot rebuild the wall. Their confidence was high when they started, but now, it's down here. Opposition has a way of just knocking the wind right out of it.